In this video, I'm going to show us how to create a pencil car, which is a very minimalist car in the idea that we are removing the majority, so it should be very competitive as far as in the actual race. Now, to start it out, one thing I just want to say is make sure that if we don't have that boxer on the outside, we want to make sure we have that. And one of the guidelines I've already entered is my axle holes, because that's the first thing we're going to do. So the guideline going from the base here up was just 7 millimeters. Now, I'm going to go into the front view of my car, and I'm going to add where these locations should be for my axle holes. Remember, it's anywhere from 9, clicking from the blue axis going forward, to 50. I'm going to do 25 on the back, and then in the midpoint here, going back 25 on the front. Now, the next thing is going to my circle tool, which is found underneath my rectangle, selecting it, zooming in on my intersection, clicking, sliding straight up, clicking, entering 2, return, doing the same thing in the front, scrolling out, scrolling back in, sliding straight up or straight out, 2, and now I have two 4 millimeter diameter holes, or the start of them. Now, one thing I've noticed is that I still have my back half of my model on right now. One thing that's really kind of neat to have, or kind of nice to have, is my half car. So go to my half car scene. It gets rid of that mirror in the back. And then we're going to do the next step, which is going to our push-pull tool, zooming in on our axle hole, selecting it, and then selecting the back edge, doing the same thing on the front. And then the next thing we need to do in our model, and I'm going to go back to the front view for this, is we are going to be drawing the way our area around our CO2 car axle holes look. So I'm going to do the front one just being a simple line with a pencil tool, coming up to a point above my car, and right here it's at 7. If I slide up a little bit, and then I'm going to use the arc tool to end that piece and bend it around the front of my car. So click, click, slide that out. I misclicked. Click, click, and slide that out. That's the shape of my front, and I'm going to do a shape that's very similar in the back. Coming in, pencil tool, up to above my car. You notice it's grabbing that front area. If you ever go hover over it, it will try to snap and drag, so it's at the same point, locking on that same piece. And then the same kind of idea in the front. Click, click on the bottom intersection, and slide out. Now, I have my space around my axle holes. The next thing I'm going to do is orbit, and I'm going to go to my eraser tool, and I'm going to delete on this edge. So clicking on these two surfaces, the corner where at the top and the front view come together, deletes that portion. And the next step I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push-pull this back, making that surface. So going to my push-pull tool, selecting my surface, notice how it's cutting away, hit the control key, and then click on the back edge. Not the line, the back edge. Same thing on the back, scrolling in, scrolling out, control key, after a click, clicking on the edge, and that adds my two pieces, or my surface there. Now what I'm going to do is orbit around and make the geometry that goes around my axle hole. I could add guidelines here or guide points to help this process, but I'm just going to kind of click it in. So I'm going to be about 3 millimeters away, starting up here on my piece with my arc tool. So starting right here, my end point, going up my piece on my edge. If you wanted to know what 3 was, like I said before, you can come in here and actually select your point. Alright, and go up and then make a 3 millimeter length piece, and it should show where that dot is. Right there. Alright, if you want to do that same thing on the end point over here, we can do that also. On the degree axis, 3 more, enter, oh sorry, 3, enter, and then we do the same thing down below. And this is the minimum, 3. And now, but I have points to click to. So I go back into my Art tool, I select my top point, I select my bottom point, and I select out and around to that front point. And it adds that shape that I want my piece to be. Now what I'm going to do is go to my push-pull tool. I'm going to select that back surface we just made, push-pull it to the front. Notice I also have to click the control key so it adds it. And I want to go 3 past the front of my car. If I go out on the edge of that, it's hard to find right now, but it's right around that 57 millimeters, so I want to go like 60 to make sure I'm 3 past there. So 60, 61, enter. And then to move this front surface up, I'm just going to click it and then click on the front half there. We move that back little piece a little bit, but that's alright. Now, from here is where we want to start connecting our housing, our CO2 car housing, to the front, and then our CO2 car housing to the bottom, in 2 different processes. But I'm going to come in, and I want to give this a place to kind of go. So I'm going to come into the middle here, and I'm going to draw a feature, whatever I want it to look like, a square, a rectangle. I'm going to use an arc from the midpoint. I'm going to go up a little bit, and then down a little bit. Right now my length is 7. I won't go much smaller than 6. And then we want to bend down this face. Make sure we're on the face when we're clicking. And I'm going to go out about 3. Enter. Now that I have my surface there, I'm going to give myself a line with my pencil tool going from where I want to start here all the way down to the front, orbiting around my car, where I want it to match up on the back. Alright, depending on how low or high you want this to happen, you select it. Now I have a geometry with a line to follow, and that allows me to use the thing called the Follow Me tool. It's found in your push-pull tool. Select it, click on it. When you slide down, it will add that surface as it's going back this way. And I'm just going to stop it short and then switch to the push-pull tool to click on that surface in the front and making sure that it's going all the way into my front of my housing. Notice that when I crash into it, it stops because I have to take the control key to go past it. And we just want to go into so it's lining up past that top edge. And click. If yours isn't going in the back way, we can do that same thing on the back side. It's kind of hard to see mine, but if I zoom in, I can find it. Control key and click. Now I have my CO2 car housing connected to the front of my car. Lastly, I have to add the surface for the connection between the CO2 car housing and my piece right here. How we're going to do that is start by making a rectangle on the same plane as our bottom piece here, just up a little higher. So going to the rectangle tool, which is now I changed to the circle. I think the letter R, if you hit it on the keyboard, takes you there too. And I'm going to click on this point, and I'm going to make a rectangle going to this backhand edge on the blue. It should show up being blue. Click it. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the front view of my car, and I'm going to zoom in on the back here and kind of orbit subtly so I can see that surface. And I want to draw a shape here that I'm going to push-pull down into my housing, or into my back of my car, the bottom where my axle hole is. So this can be any shape, but I'm just going to use a circle again, or an arc. Clicking here, clicking on the front edge here, and then make sure that we're on this surface. Click, and now I should be able to pull this up and down. Every once in a while we will have to do a click to get rid of that. We are going to fill in our axle hole a little bit. That's not a big deal. We'll still be able to see where that exists. We could clean it out with a triple click and then a right click intersect faces, but that's another video. Selecting this, we just push it down, and then we want to do the same thing going up to the top. Control key. I must have grabbed the wrong stuff. Oh, 1 second there, I moved my piece. So, edit undo my last step, a couple steps. Edit redo a couple steps. Sorry, I just redid back to where I have this piece. I'm going to go up first, into my piece, and then I'm going to go back down underneath and move this surface going down. Right now it's not allowing me to, which is weird. So let me select it. Oh, I see why, because the surface is gone. So, edit undo. Selecting the surface, control key allows me to keep it. Stay in there, and I go up. And now I should be able to select this down here and go back down also. Now I have my front and my back connected. I need to move this down just a little bit more. To get that going into there. But now I have my front connected to my housing and my back connected to my housing. So lastly, what I need to do is go through and start deleting the things I don't need. Alright, so eraser tool. Clicking carefully on the things, paying attention to the stuff that we should not be there anymore. Just clicking some corners, making sure important surfaces don't go away. And lastly, cleaning up the front. And then finally, once we get here, going back to full car to see our model and how it looks overall. That's how you make a pencil car. It's a little more complicated, but it's not that bad if we follow these steps. Thank you for watching. Remember, it's important to edit undo if things look funny or don't go the right way the first time. Thank you for watching the video.